last but not least, then the main event between Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois, going in as the challenger this time round and the veteran against Daniel Dubois, the now IBF heavyweight champion. Now, we've discussed this at length, so I've only got a few more questions to add to this. Dave, first of all, I've seen some conversation surrounding that the occasion might get to Dubois, who hasn't had these highs like Anthony Joshua has had the highs. Just in your experience with fighters yourself, have you ever had to manage an occasion as well, and like as well as the fight, and what's that been like?
Yeah, it's like, any fighter that's boxing in front of shitloads of people for not the first time, but it is, because you can be boxing in front of 20,000 people and be regular boxing in front of 20,000 people, and it's big, and you feel it is big. But to then take that in front of 95,000 people in a huge stadium, that is next level. You don't understand. When I've been to Wembley for all the previous boxing events, and when I've walked out and you just look at how big it is, it's like, Jesus, this is huge. It's just huge. The ring looks tiny. And when you're at ringside and you just look at how big it is, and then by the time as the main event comes on and it's dark and all you see is all these lights off the cameras, off the camera phones, the atmosphere and just the huge spectacle of it is phenomenal. Now that you don't know how you're going to react to it until you've been in that situation. And AJ's done it. Doesn't mean anything to AJ. He's pretty well drilled in that. So you wouldn't think anything of it in those terms. He had that with Vladimir Klitschko in his biggest test, going up against somebody like Klitschko. Daniel Dubois, I don't think it'll affect him, because I think he seems to be, again, I don't know him, so it's difficult to say, but I just feel as though he's kind of like one of these guys that if he's tunnel visioned, doesn't matter about anything that's going on. I think he has his own. I feel as though he's beating his demons that he's had in his head, and when you look at how he was against Miller, I know Miller's not an AJ, but through the tough moments, he had this tunnel vision where it was like, no matter what you do, I'm gonna come through you. And he kept going, and he kept the pace going, kept going. And same against Hrgovic. Hrgovic kept nailing with these right hands. Now the old Daniel Dubois mentality could have kind of like folded when the going got tough in both those fights. He could have easily done that. But he just seems to be stubborn. That's probably the best word. He seems to be very, very stubborn in himself now. I think the confidence has brought this stubbornness about him. Even when you saw him across the table, the way he was speaking to AJ, I feel as though he feels as though I'm not that young kid anymore. You need to respect me for what I've come through. Maybe not what I've done, but what I've come through. I feel as though, and he's rightly so, I feel as though he's very proud of himself for what he's come through, and the mental shift that he's shown. And sometimes just that alone, when you then become proud of yourself for an achievement, it may not be a huge achievement in other people's eyes, because other people say, oh, well, you showed those vulnerabilities mentally in first place, so you shouldn't have them in first place. Some people speak like that, but it doesn't matter. It's about how you feel. And I just look at him now and I feel as though he's got that mentality now where he has 100% belief in himself. And I don't believe any noise from anybody else will really have an effect on him. But again, it's when you walk out and he stood on that stage and he sees that crowd, that's going to be something. I remember when Bellew came out at Goodison, and it's completely different, but that was his emotional attachment. Goodison was his the dreamland sort of thing to have a fight, and when he saw the banking there, the whole fans and everything, I remember seeing the look on his face. I see how he was, so it depends how people react to it. You just don't know.
How much pressure will weigh on the shoulders of each of the trainers having to guide their fighters to make sure that their fighters got the victory? Because either trainer is probably going to
Mate,
stand to get pelters, whatever happens, really.
there is always pressure on a trainer.
Mm.
Always, doesn't matter what level you're boxing at. You know, you have a young prospect that's still learning his game and he's 4-0, and he has a fight. You know, if he's knocked out 4 and he goes in his fifth and he struggles, or he's a bit, you know, he's not showing the ideas he's got, not showing the versatility. The trainer gets dug out for that, or he's one dimensional. He needs to go to him. He needs to leave him to go to him. Like trainers are always going to be under pressure. So in a big fight, you're under huge pressure, huge pressure. But if a coach is thinking about the pressure of what fans and people outside the fighter are thinking, if he's worrying about that, he's in the wrong game. He shouldn't be he shouldn't be working with fighters at that sort of level, you know. So I don't think either of the coaches will yes, you it's not the pressure of the other people, it's the pressure of losing. It's the pressure of your man that you've spent hours and hours, days and days, months, years, or whatever it is, working with, going home, still thinking about it, getting in bed, still thinking about the fight, waking up, you're thinking about the fight, and thinking about how you can make him better, making sure that you're covering up his mistakes, making sure that the mistakes he's still making, that you've been trying to get out of him, don't get exploited. You're thinking about it all the time. You're more worried about that and how the fight goes than you are about what other people are thinking about you, and the pressure of you know of people that aren't doing your job.
Lastly, I wanted to get your ratings on each of these attributes and tell me who you favor in each department. So we'll go through each of them first of all. And this has been debated a lot. So we'll start at this one at the top here. Power. Who you picking out the two of them?
Are we talking about one punch power?
You can answer that however you like.
If we're talking about one punch power, I would say Daniel Dubois.
So combination power?
Brute,
Let's throw that in.
brute force, Daniel Dubois. Better combination puncher. It's not just about the power to deliver it. I would say AJ.
Okay. Footwork.
Dubois underrated footwork actually, but AJ has improved over the years, and he can get up on his toes if he has to. Look at the Ruiz rematch, you know. I don't know. That's because Dubois, it's a 50-50 that really, I think, to be honest. Because they're both in different ways. But because Dubois is never going to get up and get up on his toes. But when he's had to, actually, when I think his knee went, he was intelligent with his feet. Yeah, I think that's quite level, that one.
Stamina.
Dubois.
Ability to take a shot. Chin.
Chin, Dubois.
Boxing IQ.
AJ. Yeah, I think that I'll be honest with you. I think both fighters, I don't feel as though they're free flowing. I think both fighters, you have to, I don't know them, but it seems, but you have to drill them, and it's very instructive. Like, hear it, do it, sort of thing. I think.
Better aggressively.
Huh? Better aggressively. I think AJ. When he's on form, yeah, AJ.
And best on the back foot.
I've not seen much of Dubois on the back foot. I'd say AJ. Ruiz, too. He boxed really well on the back foot. Moments in time in the Klitschko fight, again, he wasn't the fighter that he is now. He boxed well on the back foot. Back foot doesn't mean that you're running. Yeah, I think, and also he's improving under. He'll be improving under Ben Davison as well. His boxing IQ should be improving under Ben Davison as well.
Heart.
Oh, I don't like to. I don't like to say that one. I think both fighters. Yeah, I don't. That's. I think that's quite an unfair question because both fighters have shown not. You can say Daniel Dubois. You know, he called it twice. You know, but you have to be in that man's position. The Usyk one, I think, is inexplicable. But I think rather than being heart, a question. This right, okay. So rather than it being a question of heart, because I think that's quite disrespectful to fighters. I think the question is the frailties and the mental side of things, and this is where they both have shown a frailty mentally. Dubois more so, because Dubois has taken the knee, stayed there, watched the referee count. AJ just didn't seem to want to be there with the Ruiz fight. Not a question of heart, is there's just something there. Just, you know, he still got up. He got up, but he just kind of like allowed it to be stopped, sort of thing. Didn't fight to show the referee that it was all right. He looked confused. He looked like, what the fuck's going on? Looked like he felt sorry for himself. More of a mental thing again. So I would say we don't know what AJ is like now when he's put under the same sort of pressure. But what you got to remember is he got walloped really, really hard against Vladimir Klitschko. And he went down heavily against Vladimir Klitschko and he got up. So take away the Ruiz first fight where he just looked confused and might have been concussed because he was getting bashed at that moment. So it might have just been concussed. So take away that. I don't think I've seen anything where he's not got like the mentality to come through a firestorm. You know, the criticism that he's had since was him actually letting go of his punches more than what, you know, when you think Dillian White, the fight with him, he showed plenty of, you know, mental resolve in that fight, grit, determination. And then, like I said, you know, Dubois showed that in his last two fights. So I don't know on that one. That one, I would say, right, if you had to go on recent form, recent evidence form, then I'd say the one with more grit could be Dubois because he showed it in his last two fights. AJ's not had to show it. He's not had to show any grit, I don't think, since Usyk. Since Usyk, he had to show a bit of grit in that fight because it was going away from him, but he kept with it. But it wasn't the kind of grit that had to, the mental fortitude that Dubois had to show because he wasn't like bombs. I know the first fight, I think the last round in the last few seconds he was getting ragged all over. But yeah, so I don't know with that one. It's not hard, it's about mental toughness. I don't know.
I appreciate the thoroughness of your answer, Dave. I'll have one last question for you.
Not a very good answer, though. You didn't really get an answer, did you?
No, well, it's better than just picking one over the two, and I do appreciate that. Last thing I'm going to ask for you is, of course, the prediction. Nail your colours to the mast here. Who is coming up with the victory?
I've always said this fight, the only thing that will surprise me in this fight, the only result that will surprise me in this fight is if it goes the distance and we use the judges. Any other scenario can see happening. But I'm going to lean towards body of work and the evidence that I've seen with my own eyes and the caliber of opposition that it's being done with. I would say Anthony Joshua stops Daniel Dubois. Dubois' last two wins have been fantastic and been great for him personally and great for his mentality. But Jarrell Miller isn't anywhere near Anthony Joshua's level. Hrgovic, he's got a good right hand, but he's not. Tell me a fight where he's impressed massively against anybody of any note. Look at AJ's CV of who he's beaten. Look at the record of the guys that he beat. He's beaten a lot of top level heavyweights. A lot of guys that have been at the top, around the top, or still around today, contenders. So on evidence of work, I would say AJ. I'm not going on because he beat Ngannou and he looked devastating. That's how it should have happened. I'm not going on Hrgovic, not Hrgovic, Otto Wallin, because he didn't do anything. He looked scared stiff. Elenis, apart from the ending, wasn't great, was it? But there's been a progress in these fights. And sometimes the mental progress is more important than the physical progress. And I think Franklin to the follow-on fights as they've gone on, culminating in that huge confidence boosting Ngannou knockout, I think you get an AJ win.
Dave, excellent conversation. Thank you so much for speaking to Seconds Out. Really appreciate your breakdown of the main event and all the fights as well too. Looking forward to speaking to you on the opposite end of the fight week as well too, to get the breakdown as well. But enjoy the fight week and catch you very soon.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Good man.